You know, Steve, this is the second Democratic debate in a row where Joe Biden seemed to survive on the excesses of his opponents. He was at times shaky last night, but in the second debate, he survived and actually probably ended up gaining politically because everybody decided they were going to attack Barack Obama in the second debate. The third debate was a love fest. They overcorrected. Everybody was talking about how much they love Barack Obama. That was awesome. But then Castro attacks Biden on his age once again, puts him in a good position, makes him a sympathetic figure, and helps him win that skirmish.
Yeah, I think Biden, all things considered, had a pretty good night. He did what he had to do. Was it electrifying? Or maybe not, but I think he sort of stayed calm. He stayed on message. He got it done. He got some good support from Amy Klobuchar, in particular on the health care issue, where he wasn't left out all alone to try to argue against Medicare for all that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders were proposing. And, you know, he had some tricky questions. He was asked in previous debates about the deportations under Obama, and it is what it is, and he got through that reasonably well. I think what was missing from the debate a bit was, first of all, I continue to be surprised that no moderator has tried to identify the differences between Sanders and Warren. It would seem to me to be a simple question to say to Elizabeth Warren, what do you disagree with Bernie Sanders about, or vice versa? And so they kind of got a little bit of a free pass there. And I think also the debate, the first third of the debate on health care, obviously got way into the weeds, very specific. We can talk about all that. But a lot of the rest of the debate was more motherhood and apple pie, in the sense there were issues that these folks pretty much all agreed on and wanted to go after Trump and did go after Trump, and made some progress perhaps toward the general election. But I think all in all, I'm not sure the debate really identified some of the very fundamental differences among these candidates besides health care, like Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax proposal, like whether the deficit matters anymore, all kinds of areas where I think there was substantial agreement. We didn't really get to those last night.
I am astounded, just politically. I am astounded. This is the third Democratic debate where they spent at least the first third of that debate pounding each other on technocratic niceties regarding their health care plans. It was just really, I mean, America doesn't care. Yeah, let me say that again. Twitter cares, policy analysts care, but it's at the end of the day, here's the deal. The Democratic Party supports universal health care as a right for all Americans. Donald Trump wants to destroy your right to having health care as an American, a guarantee of that health care. He has spent every day in office. Republican attorney generals have spent every day over the past 3 years. Republicans in Congress have been spent every day trying to strip away your guaranteed right to have coverage for pre-existing conditions, to have coverage for your older children, to have the coverage that you were afforded under the Affordable Care Act. And yet Democrats tear themselves from limb to limb. You have Castro accusing Joe Biden of losing his memory. You've got Bernie Sanders screaming until he's hoarse at other people about how he's the only one who really cares. I mean, the insanity of it all, I mean, Kamala finally got to the point where she said, hey, we all support universal health care. Donald Trump doesn't. Yeah. OK, he doesn't. Why don't we just focus here? And we're going to show that clip in a second. But Willie, do you remember back in 2008, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton had this huge fight on health care about, I don't know, what was it, on the public option or on some other issue regarding health care. I forget the specifics of it. When Barack Obama was elected president, guess what? That debate was washed away, and he did what he had to do to pass health care. These debates, I hate to break everybody's heart, they're not going to make a difference. Medicare for all is not going to ever, writing this down, at least over the next 4 years, Medicare for all, as posited by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, is never going to pass Congress. It just never will. Barack Obama basically had to use every ounce of his mandate to get 50 votes to pass the Affordable Care Act. So, Willie, they're just shooting themselves in the foot and turning off a lot of Americans and having them switch their TV sets, especially if they're on the West Coast, back to Wheel of Fortune. This is a waste of time for Democrats. I like Wheel of Fortune.
It was a good one last night, too. Yeah.
It was. Trebek is back, and this time it's personal.
Say Jack, and Trebek is back to back. But, Karine, it's an interesting question. Some of the Sanders and Warren policies, specifically the policy on health care, have been painted by Joe Biden and others as fantasy. And it's okay to promise everybody the world and say you're going to get everything you want, but it's not going to make its way through a Senate, not just a Republican-led Senate, but probably even a Democratic-led Senate at this point. And also, that's that underlying question of taking away private insurance, which a lot of people believe if Elizabeth Warren becomes the nominee, that's really going to come back to haunt her, to say 150 million Americans no longer get their private insurance.
So I'll say this about last night. I think that there was no ground that was broken at all when it comes to health care, right? We know where Joe Biden stands, and we know where Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders stand. And I agree with Joe. I mean, everybody on that stage pretty much are on the same page, right? Universal health care. They want to make sure they increase coverage and make sure people pay less. And so I agree on that point, which is we should be talking about what Donald Trump is doing. He's literally in his administration is in courts trying to take health care away, ACA away, which will take away from tens of millions of people. So I think there is a miss there that they can be going in harder on because they basically all agree. And so that's kind of the problem. Look, last night, the 3 hours of debate did not change what we have been seeing the last 3 months. The front runners are the front runners. The folks who are not part of the top three are not going to break into the top three. We are where we are, and this is after the third debate, and we will see what the numbers show. But I don't think anything has changed from last night.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.